YouTube, it's Ashley at Bookish From, and I'm back with another video as I scratch my face. And I am here for my weekly wrap up. So this week I read a plethora of things. It was only 3 things, but it was listening to and reading well over 1,000 pages this week. Don't ask me. I don't know. I don't know. I've been adamantly like really focused on reading and getting some stuff done and meeting my final goals for the year. I only set my goal to 50 books this year because I found out I was pregnant in January, and in finding out that I was pregnant in January, I was like, I'm probably not going to be in the mood. Like when my first trimester, I did want to read because I was nauseated so much. So I set it to 50, and then I think I set it to maybe like, yeah, I think I set it to 25, and then I was like, I think I can read 50. And now I'm like, I really want to get to 100. I'm at 93 books. So, I mean, I think I can read 7 books before the year is over with. But I've been just like really driven and very, very focused. So, like I said, I read and / listened to 3 things this week. But with these 3 books, it's over 1,000 pages. So, very, very proud of myself. Over 1,000 pages, and then we're looking at over, see, 24, 15, close to 40 hours in audio. So don't ask me how. Don't ask me how it was accomplished. Just know that it was accomplished. So the first thing that I finished technically this week was After We Fell by Anna Todd, and this is the 3rd book in the After series. So I know that I have really talked heavily about me reading the first 2 books in the series and how big of a problem I had with the first 2 books, and I gave them 2 stars, and I thought the relationship between the characters was super problematic and I didn't like it, and I was like, I can't believe that people really enjoy this. And I ended up giving the 3rd one 3 stars. Now hear me out. This is the longest one in the series. This is the one that's over 800 pages. I think the page count is around like 848. And the audiobook is over 24 hours long. And it really is, it really explores a lot in Tessa and Hardin's relationship. And you can kind of see within the last, probably, I'm thinking transcending audiobook to pages, probably like the last 100 to 150 pages of this book, you learn a whole lot about why Hardin functions the way that he functions. And it's not always just because he's a jerk and that he's not a great person, but he's been through a heck of a lot of trauma and is introduced to more trauma by the end of the book. I can't really say much. I don't want to say much about what really happens plot-wise because, of course, it's the 3rd book in the series. But I will say that if you hated the first 2, and I know people are like, it's not even worth it, but for me, it felt worth it, and I'll explain because I ended up finishing another book in the series this week as well. It was definitely worth sticking with it because you kind of came full circle and you see like, dang, okay, so this is why he behaves this way, this is why he's so controlling, this is why he has this temper, this is why he is not always such a confident individual. A lot of his personality traits are explained in the trauma that is illustrated in this book, and then you can see how the trauma kind of continues, and you see how it's going to affect him in the last book. So it was so interesting, and I was like so pissed. Like within like the first 25% of the book, I was like, why am I still reading this crap? And then the further I got along, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And even with Tessa's not as sweet as you think she is. I mean, out of the 2, I still prefer Tessa, but Tessa also has a lot of issues that she's not dealing with in a healthy way. And because her and Hardin both are not dealing with their issues in a healthy way, it makes for a very destructive relationship. And you can kind of see why that relationship is so super destructive. But like I said, I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. I won't say like I really enjoyed it, but I was very shocked by how much I learned and how much it made sense in the whole context of the entire series, once I got to that last 100 to 150 pages. So I feel like it was well worth it. I mean, granted, yeah, it was 848 page book, but well worth getting to that point of understanding, because that's what I really wanted out of the series, was an explanation and some understanding of why Anna Todd felt the need to write these characters the way that she wrote them. The next thing that I finished, which was heavily tabbed, was Kingdom of Souls by Rena Barron, and this is a 2019 debut novel. It is about a girl by the name of Ara, and Ara is part of just part of this complex world where there's tribal magic, and her parents come from 2 different tribes, and in the beginning of the book she is wishing for her magic to come to fruition, and it hasn't yet, and she doesn't understand why, because she's from the 2 tribes and 2 parents who are well-known individuals for being able to wield magic, and her grandmother is a chieftain. And she just doesn't understand why she hasn't been gifted her magic yet. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is that there are children who start to go missing from the town that she's from, and they feel like it is a demon. Someone foresees that it could possibly be a demon. So when her magic doesn't come, she feels obligated to figure out what exactly is going on, and she does something that she shouldn't do. It's this group that's called the Charlatans, and what they do is they sell their years for magic, meaning they sell years of their life for magic. And when you do this, you never know how many years you're gonna sell. You just know that the magic is a price to pay. But she's willing to pay that price to figure out what's going on with these kids. What she finds out is so crazy. It almost feels like, when I read this book, it almost felt like it was 2 different stories, because I feel like the first quarter of this book really built up the whole world, as far as like talking about like the tribal magic and the different tribes, the chieftains, the gods, the goddesses, her place in her family structure, the city that they lived in. Her mother is a god priestess, and her role in her mother's character, and how she has a better relationship with her father than she does her mother. And then when you find out who's snatching the souls of these kids, you're like, what in the hell? It's like a completely different story. And it goes from there. It's not fast paced. I will not say that, because I got to about the middle of the book, probably about in the 200s area, because this book is 496 pages, almost a 500 page book. I got to the 200s and I was like, this book is moving so slow. And it was dragging, and I was like, this is probably going to be a 3-star book because nothing's happening and I'm not feeling it. And then I got to the 300s. And that's when everything about this book changed. I mean, the entire plot just sped up. There were things that were happening that I did not see coming. And the last 20 pages of this book, you can see on my Goodreads, I was like, WTF? What happened? How did this happen? How is this even possible? I did not see this coming. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this is actually what occurred. And it was so crazy. It was so crazy. I was like, dang, like, I really want the second book in the series, because it was just that great. I will say there is a romance in this book. I don't feel like it's necessary to the plot line. I do think that Ara could have been written as a stronger main character. She felt kind of weak to me, meaning that she really was dependent upon a lot of people, and she couldn't really hold up her own, which really bothered me. I would not go into this book thinking that anybody is explicitly good and anybody is explicitly bad. I think a lot of characters in this book are morally gray. And they're neither good nor bad. They just are people. And I think that no one in this book can be trusted, because there's this complex dynamic between there's the Orishas, which you'll probably recognize from Children of Blood and Bone. So they kind of use the same mythological patterns. But there's also Heka, who is not an Orisha, but Heka is related to the spiritual guidance of the tribes, and deals with tribal magic, and none of them can be trusted either. And then you have who's supposedly the Demon King, and you can't tell if he's truly good or bad. It's so, because everybody's out to fend for themselves, and people have altered histories and tales to put themselves in a better light. And you see that, and then you realize that no one can be trusted. So I did end up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I heavily annotated this one. I did enjoy it, and I will be doing a full review on it. And it's going to be a spoiler, because there's so many things I want to talk about. So my camera cut off because this card is full. So I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but I do know that I need to do a full review of this one, and I will be doing it soon. And then in that video I kind of talk a little bit about my annotations and everything that I felt about this book. But like I said, I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. The last thing that I read this week was the 4th book in the After series, and it's After Ever Happy. And I always have to look at that title because I'm always looking for happy ever after, like, you know, happily ever after, but it's after ever happy. Goodness gracious, I don't know what made that woman choose that title. It's a tongue twister. So this is technically the conclusion to the After series. There is a book called Before, but Before is all the events that take place before Hardin meets Tessa, and I think also some events that happen when he met Tessa for the first time. So it's from his perspective. So it is part of the series, but not part of the main storyline. So this is the last one. This one was a little over 500 pages. And I gave this one 3 stars too. I rather did enjoy this one because Hardin and Tessa both finally do what they're supposed to. They take space away from each other, which I thought they've always needed. They needed time and space away to grow up and become adults, and Hardin gets help. He starts seeing someone and talking to someone, and that's not a huge spoiler or anything like that, but they identify their relationship as being abusive, which I think is, they needed to do it. That was something that they needed to do. A lot of things happen in this book. A lot of things pick up. A lot of people don't like this book as much because it's not as detailed. So a lot of the after books really only take place over the course. So the first 1, 2, 3, and part of the 4th really truly only take place over the course of a year and some change, if even that. They don't take place over an extensive amount of time. And what she does in this 4th one is that she jumps, instead of things like events happening like day to day, she jumps years in the latter half of the book. And we kind of get to see where Tessa and Hardin go in the future. A lot of people don't like that. It didn't bother me. Because I think that we didn't need explicit details. I think she utilized those explicit details because she wanted to show how potentially unhealthy their relationship was and how much work it truly needed. And she did that very, very well in the first 3 books, and it wasn't needed for the 4th. So like I said, I did end up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. and I did enjoy it, surprisingly. Like, I'm shocked, just like y'all are probably shocked. All right, y'all, so that is what I read this week. If you're interested in knowing what I'm currently reading, I just started, and I put this on my Twitter page, I just started Slay by Brittany Morris, and 6 pages in, I was like, this book is for me. She wrote this book for me. This book already, I don't I don't even know much about it, because even after I read 6 pages in, I think I'm like 10-11 pages in, but I'm about to sit down and edit some videos and read this one. Already speaks to so much for me as a Black woman. Like, you just have to, like, I hate to say it, but like, this really was written for Black women, and I'm digging every second of it, because there's things that are talked about not even just Black women, just Black culture in general, that we don't always get in books. And I think a lot of people who are rating the books, like rating this book 3 stars and below, are people who this book was not written for, and they don't necessarily get the nuances and the tidbits that make this book special. Like, I mean, within the first 5 pages, we're talking about whether it is appropriation on Black culture for a white person to have dreads. That is a hell of a conversation that I have with people all the time. By the simple fact that I am, you know, I have family from the West Indies. Like, that is it's a huge discussion, a huge debate. There is some discussion about what we call code switch, and that's done within the first, you know, 10 pages. Like, I have not had, like, y'all, you have to understand, I talked about this a little bit when I did my review of Dear Martin by Nick Stone, and I talked about the whole aspect of code switching, but like, really the first 10 pages already, code switching, talking about the importance of enlightening oneself by reading Black literature. Like, that's 10 pages in. So I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this book. I feel like I'm gonna devour it. I feel like I'm gonna thoroughly enjoy it, and I cannot wait to dig more into it. Now, as far as the rest of the week is concerned, I have my TBR sitting right beside me, my September TBR. So I think for the rest of this week, I think the 2 other things that I want to focus on are going to be The Titan's Curse by Rick Riordan, because I'm tired of this sitting near me and I haven't read it yet. It's starting to piss me off. And the next thing being Hurricanes by Rick Ross. I think that will be the 3rd thing that I look at for the week. Now, in terms of audiobooks, I have a few checked out through my app on Hoopla. We'll see how much I really get read this week, because I found out that they may actually try to induce me this week. So that's going to change. It's going to change a lot of stuff. But I have 2 books on audio that I've currently checked out. One is Queen Takes Knights by Jolie Sue Burkhart. And this is a vampire romance. I think it's erotica. Really interested in this. I started listening to it, but I'm only like 5 minutes in. And then the next one that's been getting a lot of hype on BookTube, especially in the romance community, is Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. So I heard that this is like an alien romance, and I'm very intrigued, y'all. I'm very intrigued. I'm trying to up my game in reading more romance, because I have read a lot of contemporary. I've read, you know, just fantasy, contemporary, classics, comics, but I haven't really delved into romance, and I really want to spend some time stepping into that genre, considering that is the genre that moves the book market. Like, it's the highest selling genre of any genre. So put some respect on that, honestly. But other than that, that is it. That's my plans for the upcoming week, and we'll see what happens. And hopefully I'll be able to check back in with another weekly wrap up. We'll see. By the time this week passes, baby girl will be here, so that's when things get a little funky, so we'll see what happens. But as always, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. If you're interested in following me on social media, all my links will be down in the description box below. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Let me know what you've read this week, or if you've read any of these books, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.